Well, hey, it's good to see you again. My name is Jaded Ben, and welcome back to another episode of Bootleg Breakdown, where we dive into the world of unofficial releases and bootlegs and counterfeits, and show you all the bone-chilling and awesome elements that they bring up.
Ha, bone-chilling. Really fucking funny. I'm freezing over here.
Alright, look, there's a problem with that. First of all, you're not real. Second of all, you're made of plastic. I think you'll be just fine. You need to calm down over here. That's getting way too out of hand. Anyways, let's talk about what is playing in the background just right over there today, and that is going to be the debut album from Worm, aka Gloom Lord, released in 2020 on Iron Bonehead Records, but later redone in 2023 on 20 Bucks Spin Records. I got the coveted B1 edition, and this managed to sell out in probably less than a day, from what I can remember. Very, very well done death doom. These guys would later sort of dive into the more of that traditional heavy metal, melodic, blackened doom later on, but this is just straight, heavy, nasty death doom out of Florida. 20 Bucks Spin did an absolute incredible job on this reissue, and I'm glad they're keeping this in stock, because this was kind of my introduction to the band back in about 2021, so go out of your way and check these guys out if you haven't already, or if you don't have a copy, go find one. These really aren't that hard to come by nowadays. Anyways, let's get into things that are a little hard to come by nowadays. We're going to start off with an incredible release from 2000, and that is Cannibal Corpse with Created to Kill. This was first released in 2000. This actually ends up featuring the band's vinyl recordings with Chris Barnes on vocals. So this was following the band's fourth album. This particular pressing I grabbed, I believe, was released in 2021 or 2022 via Reek of Death Records. This is going to be a very Reek of Death heavy episode, all things considered. But there is a very specific rawness to this particular record. I am sort of in the camp that Chris Barnes was starting to lose a little bit of his vocal prowess towards the latter end of Cannibal Corpse, though I admit that first 6 Feet Under record, for as much flack as I give them outside of it, that first record is absolutely awesome. This was kind of, I'd say, the cross point between the very end of his Cannibal Corpse run to the very beginning of his run with 6 Feet Under, both like in time but also in his vocal stylings, because I feel like he gained a little bit more presence on the first 6 Feet Under record that would eventually start to deteriorate. But there's no like exclusive tracks to this particular release. I mean, you get your standards: Puncture Wound Massacre, Devoured by Vermin, Mummified and Barbed Wire, and Gallery of the Obscene, which all would go on to be done by Corpse Grinder after he joined the band, about a year or so after this recording was done. This particular version is, again, super, super awesome. It is on this pink with black and white splatter, limited to 300 copies. There were some other editions of this that ended up going up online in the years previous, though I believe as of this recording, at least on vinyl, this is the most recent edition. I know I got a 2024 CD reissue, and this is also easily available to buy on Discogs. I mean, there's copies for sale. It does fetch a slight pretty penny, so but if you're definitely a Cannibal Corpse or a death metal fan, I highly recommend checking this out, because it is just an incredible record across the board. This did not come with an inner liner or anything, so I mean, just a standard package. I ended up getting this through Nuclear War Now for about 25, 26 bucks, all things considered, but definitely an essential part of the collection right here. Okay, we are going to kind of hold on to that sort of like cult status bootlegs today. I'm going to give just a little warning here, so if you don't like a little bit of gore on your covers, I'm going to suggest look away, or I'm going to blur it in the edit. But I am talking about Mayhem with the Dawn of the Black Hearts, aka Live in Sarpsborg, released originally first in 1995. This particular issue was done in September of 2021 on, you guessed it, Reek of Death Records. This particular release was, as you can see by the cover, or if you don't know the cover, look it up at your own discretion, but if you know the cover, it's their vocalist after he had, and the band would come through and take pictures of his corpse and eventually wear bits of his skull as part of their necklaces. So this would be circulated to a bunch of, I believe this was circulated to a guy in Brazil who made the first run of this particular release, and then it would go on to become absolutely famous. The picture is just, if you've never seen it before, do so at your own discretion. But the whole premise of this was it was showcasing the band's 1990 performance in Sarpsborg, Norway, which covers a good chunk of the Death Crush, almost into the De Mysterious Om Satanas era. This whole, I'll show you the back cover at least. There's this whole paragraph, and I won't read all of it, but I'll just read the first couple sentences. We have no vocalist anymore. Dead 2 weeks ago. It was really brutal. First he and then he had blown. I found him, and it looked fucking grim. The upper half of his head was lower part of his brain and down onto the bed. Apologize for all the censoring we're gonna have to do here. Either way, this particular record is super hard to come by. Though Reek of Death Records is keeping this in decent circulation. Again, I got this one in 2021, and it would later be redone again in 2023 and I believe 2024. They're not that hard to find. This one, however, is out of circulation. It's been out for a little while. As soon as it was announced, it sold rather quickly. It is limited to 300 copies on what they called Dead Red Splatter. Again, no inner liner with this one, but it does come in this super duper heavy duty inner liner. So, you know, super like iconic record, all things considered. Peaceville Records would end up going on to press that record in an official form without that cover. It was entitled Live in Sarpsborg, which I still would love to have an official copy of it. There's a black version and there's a clear version. So maybe we'll get to talk about this in another context sometime down the line. I'm still in search for it. But in the meantime, that's just a record that I've always wanted to have in my collection, especially as a fan of that early scene of black metal. All right. We're going to kind of step away from the demos and the live recordings for just a second, but we're going to talk about a little television soundtrack, or specifically a streaming soundtrack. This was for a Netflix series that I absolutely loved back when it came out. They've released their second season here very recently. I haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers in the comments, you fuckers. I am talking about the Squid Game soundtrack done by Jung Jae-il. This was done on a pink cassette tape. There was no label specified on this one. I know it was released in 2022, which is when I got it. There is no label specified. There is no limitation specified. And I don't know what country this came from. My assumption is South Korea, but I don't know for certain. Either way, the show was just such an awesome thing, especially as this kind of horror game show thing going on. It's very hard to explain, especially since I haven't seen it in a good part of about 3 years. Comes on this awesome pink tape with black liner, but the inner liner is the code. Actually, that might be the label's identification. I don't know, but that's the card that was given to all the contestants in the game. The quality of this particular recording is actually very well done. I would give it probably about 4 out of 5 stars with regards to quality. Like, it sounds very well done. There was supposed to be a vinyl version of this done by Mondo out of the UK, but that ended up being shelved for whatever reason, though copies have surfaced, so I'm keeping an eye out. However, every time I've seen it go up for sale, it fetches about $150 to $200. So in the meantime, this is just gonna have to hold me over. But I'm curious to see if they'll do another soundtrack edition. I was a little bummed to find out that this didn't have the cover of "Fly Me to the Moon" by Frank Sinatra on it, which was like one of my favorite tracks from the series. But the rest of the original music that is on top of this is super, super good, and it fetches only about $15-20 on Discogs. So, yeah, if you like the soundtrack for this particular TV show, go and check it out. Okay, we're going to move into the last two, which are live recordings. And these are both in the death metal sphere. We are going to start off with another Reek of Death Records release done in 2022, and that is Only Worm Is Real by Cryptopsy. This is the band's August 13th, 1994 performance in Quebec, Canada. It does not specify the release or the venue, so I will put it right here on the screen. So, yeah. This is a lot of stuff off of the Blasphemy Made Flash record, including Defenestration, Born Headless, Serial Messiah, Abagor, and Gravaged a Cryptopsy. As the very, very beginning of this particular band, this recording is not the greatest recording. Definitely not professional by any stretch of the means. I believe this is just a soundboard recording that had been slightly mixed and tweaked ever slightly. But this was done, again, by Reek of Death Records, who seem to be getting a lot of these bootleg releases out the door, and I'm very much in debt to them, though I wish they had some sort of way of seeing all of their releases. I just have to kind of go through and check. I got this at Piranha Records in Round Rock, Texas. This comes on this maroon marbled, I would say it's almost an eco mix, because on this side there's a lot of, I'm not sure if you can see, yellow and white and red and black marbling going on, and this was limited to 250 copies. I'm a massive fan of early Cryptopsy. I would very much love to see them do something for the None So Vile era, but this is a nice way of sort of bridging that gap between the two, and I hope to see more Cryptopsy bootlegs in the future, especially since Lord Worm is no longer playing with Cryptopsy, so I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to see him, so I've got to go back to these bootlegs in the meantime. Anyways, we've saved the best one for last, and we're going to talk about one of the coolest bootlegs and probably also one of the most prized possessions in my record collection to date. And I know what you're thinking. It's a bootleg. How valuable can it be? And to that, I raise you Morbid Angel with European Madness 89. Don't know what label this was released on. I have no fucking idea. But my assumption is that this was released around 1992 to 1993. The sources kind of vary back and forth. As you can see in all of its glory, mine is signed. Of course, I was not able to get it signed myself. I had picked this up second hand. I will not state for how much, but I will say it is a very, very good deal on this particular record. This was the band's Altars of Madness tour. And the reason I say that this was released probably in 1992 or 1993 is because of the signatures on this record. This particular signature right here belongs to one Eric Rutan. There is also Mr. Dave Vincent, as well as Trey Azagoth, as well as Pete Sandoval on this record. So that can only date it between 1993 and 1996 because of Rutan only being in the band for a very, very short amount of time. But I have confirmed through seeing other pictures of his signature that that is Eric Rutan's signature, from the best of my knowledge. The band lays through an absolute masterclass, playing almost the entirety of Altars of Madness, and I believe another track that might have come on the demos beforehand, but super, super awesome. I will say the quality on this is definitely probably one of the weaker aspects of this particular release. It's a damn shame. It was recorded in Dortmund, December 2nd of 1989. It is a soundboard recording. I can't read the label on the bottom of this. I think it's Casper and something. I'll put it on the screen here. I don't know if that's just the production company that did this or if that was the people that ended up pressing this, but yeah. Very, very little information exists about this particular record. There are other cover versions. There are other colored variants of this one. My particular version is on this awesome red vinyl with the white labels on the inside, which, apart from the one copy I've seen on Discogs and the bare minimum sources I've seen for this release, is the only time I've ever seen one of these in person. So, some bootlegs sometimes have some cool stories. I wish I would have known who had given this to me. This was dropped off at a record store. I picked it up. It's in my collection now, and it's incredible. Seriously. Sometimes the bootlegs are going to be your best friends, and this is such an awesome find to my collection. Well, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. I've got a couple more Bootleg Breakdowns episodes scheduled. We're going to probably do another one in about 3 months from now, unless I get even more bootlegs. In the meantime, I'm always searching. If you have any bootlegs that I should check out, please let me know down in the comment section below. We're almost at 40 subscribers. You guys mean the fucking world to me. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay metal. And I'll see you next time.